Man, let me tell you something most people will never admit. Hope is the most dangerous drug in the world. It's not cocaine. It's not heroin. It's not alcohol. It's hope. And the Matrix deals it out for free because it knows it keeps men weak. Fear makes you panic. Anger makes you reckless. But hope makes you sit quietly in your chains thinking the lock will fall off one day on its own. That's why every school, every politician, every broke teacher, every smiling news anchor feeds you that line. Don't worry, things will get better. And most men eat that shit up like it's a feast. They keep grinding in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, lives they despise, all because they've been sold the dream that tomorrow is the jackpot. But tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow is the leash. Tomorrow is how they keep you clapping for crumbs while they rob your life away. Man, I saw this scam early. Back when I was broke, people would tell me, don't worry, Andrew, your time will come. Just wait. Just be patient. Just trust the system. What the fuck does that even mean? Wait my turn? Life isn't a fairground ride. There's no line where you stand politely and eventually get a chance to live free. That's the biggest lie the Matrix sells. That if you wait long enough, the system will reward you. That's not how it works. The system is designed to keep you waiting until you're dead. And I refuse to play along. That's why I fought. That's why I trained. That's why I hustled. I didn't hope for success. I bled for it. I threw myself into kickboxing, traveled across countries, risked everything to make money. And when I started winning, I realized something. The men still waiting weren't unlucky. They were slaves to hope. That's why they never moved. Hope is built into every layer of society, man. The 9-to-5 grind. It's hope. Work for 40 years, pay your taxes, and maybe when you're 65, you can finally breathe. That's the carrot they dangle in front of you while your youth, your fire, your strength is stolen. You waste your prime years for a paycheck that's gone before it even hits your account. But you keep going because of hope. Hope that the pension will save you. Hope that the company will reward your loyalty. But the company doesn't give a fuck about you. The Matrix doesn't give a fuck about you. And yet you keep pulling the lever like a slot machine addict, praying that one day your number comes up. That's the leash. That's the trap. That's how they turn men into obedient drones. Not by breaking their bodies, but by chaining their minds with hope. Man, look at politics. That's hope packaged as theater. They parade clowns on a stage, dressed up as leaders, and tell you one of them will fix your life. And every 4 years, you line up like obedient cattle, casting votes as if you're choosing freedom. But no matter who wins, you lose. Taxes don't go down. Inflation doesn't stop. The wars don't end. The chains don't break. But you keep voting because of hope. Hope that the next guy will be different. Hope that this time the system will suddenly work in your favor. But the system isn't broken. It's functioning perfectly. And the function is to keep you docile, distracted, and hopeful enough to never riot. That's why politics exists. To give the slaves a circus that makes them feel like participants. But you're not a participant. You're an audience member in a rigged casino. And while you clap for your team, the house keeps taking your chips. Even religion, when twisted by the Matrix, becomes another leash of hope. Don't get me wrong. Faith in God is powerful. All faith in yourself is necessary. But the way the system sells religion, it's just another scam. They tell you, be obedient now, suffer quietly, don't rebel, and your reward will come later. Later where? Later when? Later after you've wasted the only life you've been given? That's not salvation. That's sedation. That's another leash disguised as virtue. And billions of men bow their heads, not in true faith, but in blind obedience to a system that tells them strength is sin and weakness is holy. That's why the Matrix loves using hope through religion. Because as long as men are waiting for the next world, they won't fight for this one. They'll sit quietly, starving while praying for heaven, while the elites live like kings in the present. That's not spirituality. That's slavery wrapped in robes. Man, the Matrix sells hope in your personal life too. Relationships are packaged with the same bullshit. Stay loyal, be nice, sacrifice yourself, and one day your partner will reward you. But how often does that happen? How many men stay in toxic relationships, working like dogs, draining themselves dry, all because they hope she'll change, hope she'll love them back, hope she'll finally respect them? But she doesn't. She never does. Because she's been sold the same lie. That happiness is waiting just around the corner. And while you're both waiting, both hoping, both clinging to illusions, the years disappear. That's why divorce courts are full. That's why broken men drown themselves in alcohol, because they built their life on hope instead of reality. And reality doesn't give a fuck about hope. Reality only rewards action, strength, and clarity. Everything else is weakness disguised as virtue. Man, when I started building myself, I learned quick that hope was my enemy. I didn't hope to win fights. I trained until I could destroy anyone in the ring. I didn't hope to make money. I hustled, I worked, I risked, I bled until cash flowed. I didn't hope women would respect me. I became the kind of man who demanded respect by how I lived. Hope was never in my plan. Hope is for losers. Hope is for the obedient. Hope is for the ones too scared to move, too scared to act, too scared to admit they've been lied to. The Matrix feeds them hope because it knows they'll never do shit with their lives. And the system loves obedient dreamers because dreamers don't build. Dreamers don't fight. Dreamers don't conquer. Dreamers just hope. And hope keeps the casino running. Man, here's the truth nobody wants to hear. If you're living on hope, you're already dead. You're just waiting for the funeral. Because life doesn't reward the man who waits. Life rewards the man who takes. The system knows this, which is why it brainwashes you from day one into thinking hope is noble. They tell you patience is good. They tell you waiting is wise. But they never tell you that the men who run this world didn't wait for shit. They took, they built, they fought, they crushed. And now they sit at the top selling you hope like it's salvation while laughing at how weak you are. That's the joke. The dealers of the Matrix never live by the rules they sell. They played a different game. And now they own everything while you're still sitting in line, waiting your turn. But your turn never comes. That's the leash. That's the scam. That's the fucking truth. Man, politics is the purest scam of hope the Matrix ever built. They put clowns in suits, slap titles on them, and parade them on TV like they're gladiators fighting for you. But they're not fighting for you. They're fighting for the system. And every 4 years, the media turns it into a circus. Left versus right. Red versus blue. This guy versus that guy. And you eat it up, arguing online like your life depends on it. But at the end of the day, nothing fucking changes. Taxes still crush you. Inflation still bleeds you. The wars never stop. The corruption never ends. And yet you keep hoping. You keep saying, maybe this time, maybe the next guy, maybe the next election. That's the leash. That's how they keep you from revolting. They make you believe change is just around the corner. But the corner never comes. You die still hoping. And the Matrix wins again. Man, I saw this scam early. I'd watch debates, see politicians shouting, promising, posturing. And then when the cameras turned off, they'd shake hands, smile, and laugh together. That's when it clicked. They're on the same fucking team. Different faces, same house. And you, the obedient slave, are the audience paying for the show. They don't care who you vote for because they own the entire stage. But you still argue about it. You still hope your side will win. And while you waste your energy on this circus, the Matrix keeps robbing you blind. That's why I don't play politics. Because politics is designed for losers who hope. Winners don't wait for politicians to save them. Winners save themselves. The Matrix laughs at hopeful men who think ticking a box will free them. The only freedom you'll ever have is the one you build with your own hands. Man, the lie of freedom is another hope they sell you. They tell you you're free because you can vote. Free because you can buy. Free because you can speak. That's not freedom. That's a fucking leash with a bit more length on it. Real freedom isn't being allowed to pick between two brands of the same shit. Real freedom isn't scrolling through apps owned by the same corporations. Real freedom isn't saying what you want online until you're censored for misinformation. That's not freedom. That's a cage painted to look like a palace. And the Matrix is brilliant at making you defend it. They give you just enough illusion of choice to keep you loyal. You think you're free because you get weekends off of Netflix subscriptions. But you're not free. You're a slave with slightly shinier chains. And the more you hope this system will reward you, the tighter those chains get. Man, let's talk about relationships because that's where hope kills men the most. You meet a girl, you're told she's your everything, you're told to sacrifice, to provide, to protect. And you do it. You grind at a job you hate, you pay bills, you bend over backward, all because you hope she'll love you for it. But here's the truth. Love without respect is worthless. And most men don't get respect because they're weak. They think patience and sacrifice will buy them loyalty. It won't. It buys them resentment. And when it all falls apart, when divorce courts bleed you dry, when the kids are used against you, when the state takes half your life, you're left with nothing but hope that maybe one day you'll rebuild. That's how fucked the system is. Even in love, the Matrix rigs the game. It sells you hope and romance so you'll never notice how fast you're being drained. I'll tell you a story, man. I've seen men destroy themselves for hope in relationships. They'd work themselves to death, buying gifts, paying bills, sacrificing dreams, all for women who never respected them. And when it ended, those same men were left broken, bitter, lost. And what did they say? I just hope the next one will be different. Hope again. Same leash. Same fucking trap. That's why I tell men, don't hope for loyalty. Don't hope for respect. Build yourself into a man so powerful, so unshakable, that respect is automatic. Hope has no place in love. Action, strength, dominance. That's what keeps relationships alive. But weak men don't want to hear that. They'd rather keep hoping, keep waiting, keep obeying because it feels easier than facing the truth. And the Matrix loves it. Because a man addicted to hope is a man too weak to rebel. Man, the Matrix even uses hope through culture. They tell you if you just wait, if you just keep consuming, if you just keep your head down, one day life will reward you. That's why movies, music, and shows are full of rags to riches stories. They glorify the man who waited his turn, the man who stayed humble, the man who got discovered. But that's a lie. Nobody discovers you. Nobody saves you. Nobody gives you freedom because you were patient. That's Hollywood programming. That's media manipulation. And it keeps billions of men sitting still, dreaming instead of building, hoping instead of acting. That's why hope is worse than fear, worse than anger. Because it feels good while it kills you. It feels noble while it wastes you. And most men go to the grave thinking their turn is coming, when in reality, the Matrix already spent their chips. Man, money is the dirtiest leash of hope the Matrix ever built. They tell you if you just work harder, just grind longer, just keep stacking, eventually you'll be free. But here's the truth. The more you chase money their way, the deeper you fall into their trap. Because every dollar you earn, they already have 10 ways to take it. Taxes, inflation, interest, fees. The system makes sure your pockets are never full. And yet you keep hoping. Hoping the next raise will save you. Hoping the next job will fix it. Hoping the next hustle will be the big one. That's the leash. They don't need to break you with chains if they can dangle hope of wealth in front of your face. You keep running for the carrot, and the Matrix keeps laughing because they own the stick. I saw this myself, man. When I started making decent money, I thought, finally, I've made it. But the second cash started flowing. I saw the claws of the system everywhere. Bankers trying to tie me to loans. Governments clawing at me with taxes. Fake friends showing up with their hands out. And I realized, this game is rigged. They don't want you free. They want you tied to money forever. And that's why they pump hope into you. They show you rappers flashing chains, entrepreneurs selling courses, influencers pretending they're rich. They make you believe wealth is just one more step away and you'll finally breathe. But it's all bullshit because even the so-called rich are chained. Fancy houses with 30-year mortgages. Cars they don't own. Lifestyles they can't sustain without bending the knee. That's not freedom. That's slavery and designer clothes. Debt is the weapon the Matrix uses to turn hope into chains. Student loans, credit cards, mortgages. They sell it to you like opportunity. Get the degree and your future will be secure. Buy the house and you'll have stability. Use the credit and you can live now and pay later. Sounds nice, right? That's a scam. They hook you young, fill your life with obligations, and suddenly you're stuck working not because you want to, but because you have to. That's not opportunity. That's extortion. And the sickest part, you beg for it. You hope debt will save you. You hope the degree will pay off. You hope the house will make you a man. But the reality is you're signing contracts that chain you for decades. And when you can't keep up, when you miss payments, the Matrix rips it all away. House gone. Car gone. Dignity gone. And you're left wondering how the fuck hope turned into hell. Man, I knew debt was a trap, which is why I avoided it like poison. I remember people mocking me when I was younger. They'd say, why don't you buy a house? Why don't you get a loan? Why don't you settle down? And I'd tell them, why would I chain myself to a fucking bank for 30 years? They didn't get it. They were too deep in the Matrix. They thought slavery with a roof over your head was success. They thought debt was an investment. But I saw it for what it was. A leash. A leash disguised as a milestone. And while they were chained to mortgages and student loans, I was free to move, to fight, to build. That's why I won. Because I refused to hope debt would save me. I knew it was designed to bleed me. And I wasn't about to volunteer for slaughter. Man, fake success is another way hope kills you. You see it everywhere. Social media influencers posting rented Lambos. Couples showing off vacations bought on credit. Broke men flexing designer shit while their bank accounts are empty. And you look at it and think, if they can do it, I can do it too. But you don't see the truth. You don't see the debt, the loans, the desperation behind the photos. You just see the illusion. And the illusion keeps you hoping. Hoping that if you follow the same script, get the degree, work the job, buy the house, stay patient, you'll have the same life. But the life isn't real. It's a performance. It's a matrix script designed to keep you clapping for lies while you waste your life chasing shadows. That's the power of fake success. It makes you willingly walk deeper into the cage because you think freedom is waiting at the end. Here's the cold truth. The matrix doesn't even need to chain you. You chain yourself. You beg for loans. You beg for promotions. You beg for recognition. You post photos of your crumbs and call it winning. And the matrix smiles because you're doing their job for them. You're not just a slave, you're a proud slave. That's why hope is the most dangerous leash. Because it makes you think slavery is temporary. It makes you think one day, somehow, the chains will unlock themselves. But they never do. The only way out is to rip them off. And that means rejecting the hope they sell you. That means accepting the system is rigged. That means building outside of their game. And most men are too weak for that. They'd rather stay hopeful than face the pain of truth. And that's why the matrix always wins. Man, the only wealth worth having is freedom. And freedom doesn't come from hoping the system will pay you back. It comes from tearing away from it. That's why I built my businesses outside of the system. That's why I fought in the ring. That's why I never trusted debt, never trusted jobs, never trusted politics. Because I knew the matrix wasn't designed for me to win. It was designed for me to obey. And once you see that, once you stop hoping and start acting, you realize how dangerous you can become. Because the man who doesn't hope for scraps is the man who takes the whole fucking table. That's what the matrix fears. Not the hopeful dreamers, not the obedient slaves, but the dangerous few who refuse the leash. And that's the choice you have to make. Keep hoping or start taking. One path leads to chains. The other leads to life. Man, comfort is the most dangerous leash of hope the matrix has ever created. They tell you if you just keep working, if you just keep waiting, comfort will come. A soft couch, a warm house, a holiday once a year, weekends off, a Netflix subscription. And you sit there like a king in chains thinking you've made it. But here's the truth. Comfort is how they kill your ambition without firing a shot. A man chasing comfort will never chase greatness. He'll settle for crumbs and call it a feast. He'll stay loyal to the job that drains him, the system that bleeds him, the cage that owns him. Because the couch feels good and the beer is cold. That's why the matrix sells comfort so hard. Because comfort keeps men docile. Comfortable men don't revolt. Comfortable men don't build empires. Comfortable men die quietly with a smile, never realizing they wasted their lives waiting for nothing. Man, I've seen how this plays out. I know men who brag about their comfort like it's success. They show off their small homes, their used cars, their little vacations, proud as fuck. But when you look closer, you see the truth. They're broke, they're stressed, they're chained. And the only thing keeping them going is hope. Hope that if they keep obeying, keep waiting, keep playing safe, they'll get more comfort one day. But that day never comes. The matrix keeps dangling it, always just out of reach. And by the time they realize the scam, they're old, weak, too tired to fight back. That's the tragedy of comfort. It doesn't destroy you fast. It kills you slow while making you think you're living. And that's why it's the perfect leash. Because men defend it. They love it. They protect the very thing that keeps them weak. Man, entertainment is another leash. The matrix knows men need distraction, so it built an entire circus to keep you busy. Sports, movies, music, gossip, reality TV. Endless noise pumped into your brain. And you clap, you cheer, you argue as if any of it matters. But it doesn't. Your team winning doesn't pay your bills. Your favorite actor doesn't care about you. Your favorite show doesn't free you. It just eats your time. And time is the most valuable thing you have. That's why the matrix floods you with endless distractions. Because as long as you're entertained, you won't question. You won't rebel. You won't build. You'll sit in front of screens, numbing yourself with noise, hoping the next season, the next game, the next concert will fill the void. But it never does. Because entertainment isn't designed to satisfy you. It's designed to keep you chasing. And the more you chase, the weaker you get. Man, I've met guys who know everything about sports stats, celebrity drama, movies. They can talk for hours, but ask them how to build a business, how to fight, how to invest, how to get strong, and they've got nothing. Empty. Because their brains are filled with distractions. That's the plan. The Matrix doesn't need to censor you if it can drown you. Drown you in endless bullshit so you never notice the chains. And the saddest part, these men are proud of it. They think knowing the score of a game makes them smart. They think debating celebrities online makes them informed. But really, they're clowns in a circus performing for free while the house keeps winning. That's why I don't waste time with distractions. Because while the world is busy watching bread and circuses, I'm building, I'm fighting, I'm stacking. And that's why I win while they stay stuck. Man, fake escapes are the Matrix's deadliest trick. They know you're miserable, so they give you outlets that feel like freedom but keep you chained. Vacations on credit. Nights out drowning in alcohol. Porn to trick your brain into fake intimacy. Drugs to numb your pain. And you fall for it. You think those weekends, those binges, those escapes are breaks from the system. But they're not. They're part of the system. Because you come back weaker. You come back more broke, more tired, more dependent. And the Matrix loves it. It doesn't care how you waste yourself. As long as you keep coming back to work, keep paying taxes, keep obeying. That's why those escapes are so cheap, so easy, so available. Because they're not escapes at all. Their cage is painted bright enough to make you smile while you rot inside. Man, porn is the most poisonous of them all. I'll say it again because men don't listen. Porn is poison. You think it's harmless fun, but it's a weapon. It drains your drive, rewires your brain, makes you weak. Instead of chasing women, instead of building yourself into a man worth desiring, you sit in the dark jerking off to pixels. And you wonder why you feel empty. The Matrix designed it that way. Because a man drained of energy, a man satisfied with fake conquest, is a man who won't rebel. That's why porn is free. That's why it's everywhere. Because it's the perfect leash. It keeps you enslaved without you even realizing it. And I'll tell you this from experience. The moment I stopped consuming bullshit, the moment I focused on training, building, chasing real victories, everything changed. My energy skyrocketed. My focus sharpened. And suddenly the Matrix looked like the joke it really is. Man, alcohol is another scam. They glamorize it, sell it as fun, as celebration, as freedom. But what is it really? A slow poison. A leash disguised as a party. Men drink to escape their lives, but all they do is weaken themselves. They get sloppy, they waste money, they waste time, and then they wake up hungover, weaker than before. That's not escape, that's sedation. And the Matrix profits every step of the way. Bars, clubs, liquor companies, all part of the machine. And the culture pushes it hard. Because as long as you're drunk, you're not dangerous. A drunk man isn't building, isn't rebelling, isn't thinking. He's just another clown stumbling home while the house takes his chips. That's why I don't drink. Because I refuse to weaken myself for illusions. I don't need alcohol to feel alive. I live so hard every day that I don't need fake highs. Man, the worst part of fake escapes is they feel like freedom. That's why they're so deadly. You go on a vacation and think this is life. But it's not. It's rented freedom, bought with debt. You come back broke, still chained to the job, still trapped in the system. You watch a game and think this is passion. But it's not. It's distraction. It's passion stolen and wasted on strangers. You drink, you watch, you fuck pixels on a screen, and you call it living. But it's not living. It's sedation. And sedation is slavery with a smile. That's the trick. The Matrix doesn't need to fight you if it can sedate you. And sedation disguised as freedom is the most powerful leash of all. That's why most men stay slaves forever. Because they don't even realize the leash is there. They think it's life. But it's not life. It's death in slow motion. Man, the Matrix survives on one thing above all. Your belief that things will get better. That's the fuel. That's the leash. Without hope, the entire system would collapse overnight. If every man woke up tomorrow and realized no politician is coming, no job will save him, no fucking jackpot is waiting at the end of his patience, the streets would explode. Governments would fall. Corporations would crumble. The whole circus would burn. That's why they can't let you see it. That's why they pump hope into you like oxygen. Every speech, every commercial, every campaign, every headline is laced with it. Tomorrow will be better. Next year will be brighter. The future is yours. Bullshit. The future isn't yours if you're chained to their system. The future belongs to the house, and the house always wins. But as long as you keep hoping, as long as you keep waiting, as long as you keep clapping for illusions, you'll never fight back. That's why hope is the strongest leash of all. Man, I've lived both sides of this game. I know what it's like to be broke, sitting in a shitty apartment, eating noodles, hoping life would change. I'd stare at the ceiling at night and think, maybe next month, maybe next year. But deep down, I knew it was a lie. Nothing changes unless you change it. Nothing moves unless you move. The Matrix doesn't reward patience. It rewards obedience. The longer you sit still, the tighter the chains get. And I snapped one day. I decided I was done hoping. I was done waiting. I was done praying for the system to save me. That's when my life changed. I trained harder. I fought harder. I hustled harder. And every win I got came not from hope, but from action. That's when I understood the truth. The Matrix doesn't fear dreamers. It fears doers. And once you stop hoping and start acting, you become dangerous. Man, think about how deep this scam runs. The education system tells kids, study hard, and one day your future will be bright. That's hope as a leash. The job tells workers, stay loyal, and one day you'll retire happy. That's hope as a leash. The government tells citizens, vote, and one day things will change. That's hope as a leash. Even in relationships, it's the same. Sacrifice enough, and one day she'll love you. That's hope as a leash. And most men spend their whole lives bouncing from one leash to another. They go from hoping for good grades to hoping for promotions to hoping for pensions to hoping for a peaceful retirement. And by the time they realize the trick, their life is gone. Their fire is gone. Their time is gone. And the Matrix won without ever firing a shot because it didn't need to. Hope did the job for them. Man, hope even infects rebellion. You see men saying, one day I'll escape. One day I'll start that business. One day I'll build myself into the man I want to be. But one day is the deadliest phrase in the English language. One day is how men waste decades. One day is how slaves stay slaves forever. Because one day never comes. The only day that matters is today. And that's why I don't wait. That's why I don't hope. That's why I don't play by their script. Because every day I act, every day I build, every day I fight, I'm cutting another link in the chain. And every man who wakes up and does the same becomes another crack in the Matrix. That's what terrifies them. Not men who hope, not men who dream, but men who do. Because doers don't wait for permission. They take. And the Matrix has no defense against that. Man, here's the hardest truth. Nobody's coming to save you. Not the government, not your boss, not your parents, not your partner. Nobody. If you sit in the casino waiting for luck, you'll die broke. If you sit in a cage waiting for freedom, you'll die chained. If you sit in the Matrix waiting for mercy, you'll die obedient. That's reality. And most men can't handle it. They'd rather cling to hope, even if it kills them. They'd rather believe a comforting lie than face the brutal truth. That's why this world is full of slaves. Because the Matrix doesn't need to fight them. It just needs to keep them hoping. Hope makes the whip unnecessary. Hope makes the bars invisible. Hope makes men defend their own prison. That's why I say it again and again. Hope is the leash. And until you rip it off, you'll never live free. Man, I know this sounds brutal, but it's the truth. The only way to live is to kill hope. Kill it in your mind. Kill it in your heart. Kill it in your soul. Replace it with action, with discipline, with strength. Stop waiting for life to get better and fucking make it better. Stop hoping the system will reward you and start building outside of it. Stop dreaming about freedom and start earning it, because the Matrix will never give it to you. The house doesn't hand out jackpots. It takes. And if you keep playing their game, you'll keep losing. The only way to win is to stop hoping and start taking. That's the choice every man has to make. And most will choose wrong. Most will choose the leash. But the few who don't, the few who see hope for what it is and rip it off, those men are the ones who will live. Those men are the ones who will conquer. Those men are the ones who will stand outside the Matrix and laugh at how blind the rest were.